Welcome back to See You Live. I'm your host, Lauren Sega, Associate Editor of Columbus Underground. Today we have Adam Brouillette, local artist, designer, community organizer, co-founder of Blockfort, which topped our list of best galleries of 2018. Congrats
Thank
and
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
So you've been an artist like your whole life, and you started opening galleries at a very young age. How did you know that you wanted to be like a gatherer of artists? And what were your goals and kind of particularities in thinking of the environment that you wanted to create?
I think a lot of it happened by accident. Getting out of art school, I joined the Ohio Art League as just a volunteer and started learning from some of the people that were there. Ellen Greavy and Sarah Fairchild and Haley Boning kind of fostered me and said like, hey, being part of this community is a good thing. Eventually I ended up meeting up with Mike Reed at an Ohio Art League event, and he kind of encouraged me to join Junction View Studios, and he and I together kind of cooperatively started organizing there. And at first it was just a way to have my own studio, and then I started realizing the value of it and started thinking like, wow, you get out of art school and you go into the community, there's not a lot of other people that you see if you're working at home in your own space. And then once we started Junction View and things started happening there, I started noticing the value of having a community of artists working together, having exhibitions together. And every step of the way since then in running spaces has sort of happened by accident. Junction View was torn down, so dozens of us worked to make Taco Cat Cooperative. Taco Cat Cooperative ended up closing down, and my wife Megan and I, founded Blockfort and started running that space. But the same principle is always there, this idea of like collective shared environment, resources, helping each other, networking, having people that are doing similar things to you in a space to help answer questions that people may have or to provide things that people may need to make whatever they're doing individually better.
Mm-hmm. So right, you've been to these three iterations, Junction View, Taco Cat, and now Blockfort, but Blockfort's kind of like its own animal in that it's a business.
Yes.
How did you make that decision to go from this art collective style to owning a business?
A lot of that is things that, throughout the years I've learned a little bit more. Mm-hmm. With Junction View, it was kind of like the Wild West, and, Mike and I just sort of started running that place as a way to like organize community, and once Nationwide Insurance bought it, it became, they were owning the property and they were running the property, and when we had to move out, it was really disheartening. We knew that it was coming, but still having to move, 45 studios out of a building and seeing the trouble that everybody had to go through for that, seeing the exodus of artists from places like the Short North, seeing the exodus of the artists from Taco Cat, people constantly being transient, finding a way that we as artists could own something as a business, and at least be able to carry the name, carry the financial responsibility of it. I've been part of nonprofit organizations. Those end up often being hairy messes because you have a board dictating what can happen. I've been part of a cooperative and a collective. Those become difficult because not often is everybody pulling their weight. And so it just became a lot easier for us to say, hey, why don't we bear the responsibility? We receive the benefit of it. And it's a lot of work. And I think a lot of the artists that are in the building are thankful that there is somebody there that when something breaks, they know that there's a responsible party to fix it. And it's stuff that I was doing anyway when we were at Taco Cat or when we were at Junction View. I was the one handling those things. Mm-hmm. So now it just streamlines the decision making. Megan and I sit down and we talk and we say, how do we want to handle this issue, or what things do we feel like we need for the building to provide amenities for the tenants? And the tenants aren't like without say in what happens. We do feedback sessions. We have ways for them to tell us what they think they need. So I think for everybody, it's just a better situation.
More stable and reliable, for
Yeah.
sure. So since Blockfort opened, it was early 2017, right?
Correct.
You guys have soared in popularity. I mean, you've topped our list twice now, 2 years in a row. What do you think makes it such a popular destination?
those lists, and we are more than happy to be on those lists every year. We know that they're a popularity contest to a certain extent,
Sure.
that people are voting what they know or some experience that they had. And one of the guiding things that we sort of choose for a principle of how we want to operate our space is this idea that the space should be for everybody, that it should be welcoming, that when we put exhibitions together or when we're working with artists or when we're organizing events, that we want to make sure that anybody that walks through the door feels welcome. Often art spaces and art galleries can be sort of pretentious places, and we view that as a necessary part of the art community. Artists that are making art for art's sake, or that gallery owners that are trying to find cutting edge work that is being produced at a high quality level. And then there are other spaces that are more community spaces. Something like a Junction View even was just a giant warehouse that we showed artwork on the walls, and it was about showing everything for everybody all the time. We're trying at Blockfort to have a little bit of a balance of that. So we want high quality artwork, we want high quality artists, but we want to also reach out to parts of the community that maybe are underserved, or parts of the community that don't get represented in a traditional art gallery. And then we want the guests, when they come, to feel welcome. We want doors to be open. We want people to be able to ask questions. We want to make sure that when people come to see artwork, that they feel like they can be part of it, not just being dictated to, but that they're actually collaborating with the artists or working with the artists. Mm-hmm. All that stuff, then you put it into a popularity contest, and where do people feel welcome? Where do people feel like they're seeing things that they like? And I think that's a testament to our tenants, that's a testament to the audiences that are coming, that people are feeling like it's a positive space and somewhere that they feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. So like, speaking of your tenants, when I was there last night, I saw that you were adding a new artist. Mm-hmm. How often do your artists circle in and out, and what do you look for in that?
So very infrequently, like going back to Junction View, when that was around, turnover as we got towards the later years of it started slowing drastically. And then with Taco Cat Cooperative, the whole time we were at Taco Cat Cooperative, we only had one tenant changeover. When we moved to Blockfort, we knew that we were going to grow in the number of tenants, and that maintaining anywhere over a dozen tenants to me is a difficult thing to do. So any space that's running in town, when you hear that there's turnover, that's pretty normal. Artists are in and out, financial situations change, job situations change, people move, and one of the things we wanted to do was create like an upward mobility. So a group like Freight Design Company, Studio Freight on Instagram, they've gotten their company to a point now where they've decided that they want to own their own, or, have their own storefront, and so they moved out. So it's like a positive thing for somebody to move out in that case. When that happens, we focus a lot on like, what are we losing? What part of the community are we not accessing? Who are the new people that could fill in, that maybe have a different method of working or are from a different part of the community that we don't know? So we just moved in 2 fashion designers and a fiber artist, which we don't have either of those things. So it's kind of exciting for us to have new energy, new crowds that'll attend, people that are excited about having a space and that can benefit from the other disciplines and types of people that are in the building.
Sure. So we talk about like arts and culture and like the infrastructure of support available to them. I don't know if, I'm sure you were, but GCAC, when they introduced that ticket tax, that they kind of divided the art community. What was your take on that? Do you think that infrastructure is good as is? Do you think that we should be demanding more public support for these institutions?
I'll comment on 2 different things.
Yeah.
So infrastructure for the arts and support for the arts, I think, drastically needs to increase. Like the methodology of that in terms of the GCAC ticket tax and how the community is split about that, I understand both sides of the discussion, and I think that I can sympathize with the GCAC doing what they feel they need to do because multiple other methods have been tried. But arts institutions, if you look, economically at like what they provide or what they provide in the community as far as why people want to live in an area or why people want to go out of their houses and why people want to shop or what's creating the quality of life in a city, I think that if you look at the return on investment that is made, the number of dollars that get put into the arts versus the number of dollars that come back, it only makes more sense to feed more of the arts, to support more. That being said, Blockfort and how we kind of feel about that as a business, we don't receive grant money, we don't receive funding for the things that we're doing. We're kind of saying, hey, we're going to do this on our own, but we also know that partnerships with the museum or the library or the Thurber House or any of the other area, Discovery District area institutions, like, we want to see those things thriving too. We want to see the opera thriving. We want to see COSI thriving. We want to see the other studios thriving. We want to see individual artists receiving grants that make it easier for them to do the things that they do. And we don't view that as handout money. This is a group of people that are working very hard to create a quality of life. Musicians, artists, videographers, designers. That's what makes the quality of life in the city. And until we as people start funding those things rather than, maybe some of them more stringent policies or whatever, I'd rather see us have funding for the arts and know that that's going to benefit our culture. So.
Sure. This has been Adam Brouillette with Blockfort. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.